Hi, I'm Karl Konrad and welcome to the weekly edition of Australian Immigration News. This show is proudly presented by Australian Immigration Law Services, right here in the heart of Sydney. This week, Clare Oneil, the Department of Home Affairs Minister, declared on national TV that by the 1st of July this year, we will be in a normal migration intake cycle. With the news that the New Zealand government is also trying to cut its migration intake, making temporary visas harder to obtain and of shorter duration, Clare Oneil was quick to try and take credit for New Zealand actually copying the Australian government's lead. On Channel 7 Sunrise program, she said, "What you're seeing there is New Zealand government following the Australian government's leadership here." However, the success of halving the migration intake so quickly has also come at a great cost to the community. In The Australian this week, it was reported that universities face a $500 million revenue loss from student visa reductions, or what they called the student visa debacle. The article outlined that 10 universities have been hit with higher student visa risk assessment levels. The University of Tasmania and the University of New England both heavily rely on international students for revenue and now sitting at the highest risk assessment level 3. Assessment level 3 indicates the most difficult for international students to obtain a visa to study at those institutions. Perhaps then it was no surprise that this week the University of Tasmania endorsed the efforts of the governments to reduce the total net migration by stating that a cap of international student numbers was a good idea. This is something similar to what Canada has already done. Perhaps the University of Tasmania is looking to get on the good books of the Department of Home Affairs so they can claw back its ranking to at least level 2 once again, so no longer it is sitting at the bottom of the pile. However, with all this talk about the ministers patting themselves on the back about what a good job they've done to reduce the migration intake so quickly,
we are the best.
It is likely that when their Treasurer Jim Chalmers stands up in Parliament next month to present the next national budget, he will explain what benefits the large rise of international students and the larger migration intake has done to prop up Australia's economic growth in the last 12 months. An article in the Sydney Morning Herald this week outlined the benefits of a larger migration intake. It was titled, "Migrants, what are they good for?" A lot, actually. It describes that without the extra population driven by migration, the Australian economy would be in recession by now. And that without those migrants, countless of small businesses that have been desperately short of staff 18 months ago would have already closed down. And without those migrants, the university sector, one of Australia's biggest economic advantages, would be slashing staff. So it seems this narrative by the government is slowly emerging. In the coming budget, the government will acknowledge the benefits of the high migration intake during this financial year, then pat themselves on the back for reducing the numbers so quickly, and then impress upon the Australian public that Australia needs to get on with the job of accepting the normal migration intake numbers. There was a rare win for the government in the High Court this week regarding immigration matters. The court ruled that the Immigration Minister is not required to personally read all submissions for ministerial intervention applications. This case was first in the courts over a decision made by the previous Minister of Immigration, and now the decision comes under Andrew Giles' watch. The ruling ensures that the Minister can read the summaries prepared by his staff members and sign where the "Sign Here" sticker indicates. Given the thousands of ministerial intervention requests that passes the Minister's desk each year, we are sure that Andrew Giles will be delighted with this rare High Court win. Now, last week, most of you will remember, we reported on the New South Wales government changes of its 4/9 sponsorship requirements under Pathway 1. The change was reducing the period of employment required down from 12 months to 6 months. I made the comment that it appeared New South Wales had run out of people working in their occupation for 12 months and now looking for people with just 6 months. Well, a comment from one of our viewers quickly highlighted something I failed to raise as an important issue. PK wrote in and said, I think the reason there aren't many people apply Visa 491 Pathway 1 to New South Wales, it's not because of the time of working in New South Wales regional area, but it's a minimum tismet. Just wonder how many occupations in regional areas could earn more than 70k before they change the minimum tismet to 70k. You're right, PK, and thank you so much for your comment. This was also highlighted to our office this week when someone working as a regional New South Wales chef spoke to one of our consultants. They explained they would have loved to be able to apply under Pathway 1 for New South Wales. However, their workplace does not pay chefs at the minimum tismet amount as it is just a small town regional cafe. They have worked over 18 months in their occupation, but because of this salary threshold set by Investment New South Wales, the 491 visa was beyond their reach. As PK pointed out, this scenario is probably repeated for many. Despite the New South Wales government boasting it helps regional New South Wales, this support is very limited. They are simply pandering to the Department of Home Affairs, which lives in fantasy land of Canberra lifestyle and does not even know what happens in small regional businesses. Few occupations in regional Australia, particularly in hospitality and trades, would pay temporary residents salaries of more than $70,000. They say they are crying out for hospitality's workers to support regional Australia, but when these hard workers go out there to do the work, the government can't even offer a realistic 491 sponsorship requirement. We hope we may delve into this issue a little deeper shortly. Anyone who would like to be interviewed after working in their occupation in regional New South Wales but cannot reach this high 70,000 threshold, please contact us and we can highlight this issue further. Now, since we're talking about pay rates, nurses in Queensland were very upset when the state government and the construction union movement struck a deal over a lucrative benefits package for construction workers. Take a listen to this aired on Channel 9 this week.
Well, Stephen Miles has told Queensland nurses and paramedics they have some of the best wages and conditions in the country. It comes as the Premier cops backlash after offering big perks to tradies. President of the Nurses Professional Association, Kara Thomas, joins us now. Kara, good morning to you. Tradies will get double time when it rains, a full month of rostered days off each year. If there's 75% humidity, they can down tools, but nurses are struggling to pay their bills. Is that about right?
That's about right. It does feel a little bit like they're giving perks to their union mates leading up to an election. We've got nurses that have literally just worked through a pandemic where masks were under lock and key because there weren't enough PPE and we were supposed to reuse our N95s. And we've got 75,000 nurses that have left across the country, it was recently reported, since COVID. And we've got a health system in crisis. We've got nurses working double shifts. We've got nurses working understaffed. They're having to cancel elective lists. We've got our elective surgical waiting list blowing out. It was reported to nearly 500,000. We've got emergency times blowing out. We've got people literally dying in ambulance ramping. If our conditions are so good, why are nurses leaving in droves with our pay barely keeping up with inflation, and librarians and retail workers sometimes paid more than nurses that are literally saving lives?
Good on them. Nurses have been the unsung heroes of our community for too long. And on that enlightening note, it's time to end the show. Please come back and join us next week when something will undoubtedly happen in the world of Australian migration. Remember, we are always here if you need assistance. You can book a consultation online, or if you need advice faster, just pick up the phone. Remember to help us by hitting the like icon and sharing the video with your friends. As always, take care out there, and I will see you next time. So bye for now.